these three organizations themselves are bounded by something called the occult. The occult is just basically hidden, secret knowledge, not available to people.
Professor Jiang.
Professor Jiang.
Professor Jiang.
Professor Jiang has been showing up in feeds everywhere lately. Not because he's chasing fame, but because people listen to what he says, and then they watch the world prove him right. Before the last election, he called it. Before JD Vance was on anyone's radar, Jiang named him as VP. Before the war with Iran escalated, he laid out exactly why it would happen, and when. So when someone with that kind of track record starts talking about hidden systems and secret knowledge, you pay attention. I spent time going through his work, pulled out the theories that explain the world we're actually living in, the questions we all feel but don't know how to ask. Who's really in control? And why does it feel like we're just watching it all happen? This might not be comfortable, but if you've ever felt like something's off, like the story doesn't match what you're seeing, this video is for you. So settle in, because Jiang is about to show you what's really going on behind the curtain. And by the end, you won't look at the world the same way again.
The first thing you need to understand, which is very hard, is that our world is a hallucination. It's a collective fantasy.
A hallucination. Not sometimes misleading or a bit subjective. A full-blown, shared hallucination. And he's not being poetic. He's being literal. He takes us straight to Plato's cave. You know the story. People chained, staring at a wall their whole lives, watching shadows, thinking those shadows are the whole universe. They give the shadows names, they build a language around them, they tell stories, wars are fought over which shadow is real, generations pass, and never once do they turn around. Jiang says, that's us. That's now. The economy, the borders, the stock market, the news, the rules-based order. All shadows, all projected by something we can't see. Here's the part that hits different. He says we're not forced to stay in the cave. The chains aren't even real. They're ribbons. Anyone could walk out. But nobody does, because we love the cave. We're emotionally welded to it. And if someone comes back from the outside and says, hey, those shadows aren't real, we don't think them, we kill them. I had to stop for a second when I heard that, because it's not just a story about ancient Greece. It's happening right now, every time someone questions the narrative. Think about that the next time someone calls you crazy for questioning the script. He's setting the table here. And trust me, what's coming next will change how you see everything. But first, we have to accept one thing. The world you think you're living in, it's a projection, a game, and someone built it. So yeah, we're not prisoners. We're volunteers. The question is, what are you volunteering for?
It is our conscious attention that creates wealth in this world, and it's really money or capital that extracts and stores our consciousness and turns it into wealth.
This is the sentence that changes everything. Jiang isn't talking about economics. He's talking about alchemy. Think about what he laid out before this. The vase example. You focus, you pour your attention into making something beautiful, and that focus makes it valuable. That's the raw material, consciousness. Not labor hours, not resources, but attention, focus, the stuff you're using right now to watch this. Now follow the trail. You work, you create, you focus. At the end of the week, you get paid. What just happened? You traded your consciousness for pieces of paper or digital numbers. Those pieces of paper, money, are just frozen attention. They store your life energy until you spend it on someone else's frozen attention. Jiang says this is the hidden engine. The whole global economy is a machine designed to extract consciousness from the many and concentrate it into the hands of the few. The elite don't get rich because they're smarter or work harder. They get rich because they own the storage units. They control the mechanism that turns human awareness into wealth. Then he gives an example that changes how you see everything. He lists the old storage devices, pyramids, Homer's epics. Each one soaked up generations of human attention. Pyramids weren't just tombs, they were concentration camps for consciousness. Millions of Egyptians poured their focus into those stones, believing building, obeying. The stories of Homer did the same for Greeks. Centuries of attention stored in poems. Now the storage device is the dollar. Every time you work, save, spend, trade, you're pouring your consciousness into the system, and the system stores it as digits in someone else's account. It's the most efficient extraction machine ever built. But Jiang drops one more line that changes the game.
There's actually a war going on for the soul of humanity, for the human consciousness between the US dollar, the old world order, and artificial intelligence, the new world order.
The dollar needs human consciousness to function. It runs on your attention, your labor, your focus. AI doesn't. AI generates its own attention, its own focus, its own value. So the old storage device is fighting the new one, not over markets, not over resources, over the source code of reality. That's the real war, and it's just getting started.
They don't force us to do anything. There's not enough of them. Okay? The way they maintain power is through manipulation and trickery and deception.
Many people imagine the elite as some shadowy cabal with armies and mind control rays. They pull levers, we dance. Jiang says no, that's a Hollywood fantasy. The truth is more humiliating. They can't force us. There aren't enough of them. If everyone on Earth woke up tomorrow and decided the game was over, what would they do? Send their tiny army against 8 billion people? They'd last about an hour. So, how do they hold it together? Manipulation, trickery, deception. Go back to the cave. Watch what happens when that one guy finally stands up.
He or she starts messing around with the chains and realizes, these aren't chains, these are just like ropes. I can just like get rid of them. And this chain around my neck, it's like a ribbon. I can snap it off. And he doesn't know why he does this, but he does this. He does do this. And when he does this, they don't even care. Like, whatever, man, do whatever you want.
They don't even stop him. They just watch him stumble toward the light like, whatever, man, do your thing. Why? Because they know something he doesn't. Even if he leaves, everyone else will stay. The system doesn't need guards. It needs believers.
You think they have magic, and you think that they're evil, but really, all their power rests on our belief in their power.
Read that again. All their power rests on our belief in their power. The president, the banker, the general, the billionaire, none of them have power you haven't given them. You believe the dollar is worth something, so it is. You believe the cop has authority, so he does. You believe the election matters, so it does. It's a collective hallucination held together by consensus. And here's the part that got me. We want to believe. Because if it's all fake, then what have we been doing with our lives? What were our parents doing? What were their parents doing? That realization is too heavy for most people to carry. So when that guy comes back from outside the cave and says, hey, those shadows aren't real. They don't thank him. They don't debate him. They don't even chain him up.
But we fall in love with it. We're so attached to it psychologically and emotionally that if anyone tells us it's fake, we kill them for it.
Not the elite, the other prisoners. Because he's threatening the one thing they can't live without, their fantasy. That's the mechanism. That's how manipulation works. You don't need armies when people will kill the truth tellers for you. So next time someone calls you crazy for questioning the story, remember Jiang. They're not defending the truth. They're defending their cave. And they'll kill you for it if you let them.
You think that you go to university to learn knowledge. No, you don't. You go to university to be brainwashed and to believe that this system is not just fear, but actually what really makes this system work is the rules-based national order.
You spent years in classrooms, took loans, wrote papers, chased grades, and Jiang says that was brainwashing. Not education, brainwashing. He's not talking about conspiracy theories where professors secretly indoctrinate students with leftist propaganda. That's too small. He's talking about something deeper. The real brainwashing is the assumption that the system is basically just. That if you work hard, play by the rules, climb the ladder, you'll get what you deserve. That the game is fair. That the winners earned it, and the losers didn't try hard enough. That's the core belief they install. Not through overt propaganda, but through the entire structure. The way classes are graded, the way success is defined, the way history is told, the way economics is taught as if it's physics, not a set of choices made by powerful people. Jiang adds 2 more layers.
CNN, BBC, New York Times. Each time you read an article, you think you're receiving news. You're not receiving news. You're being brainwashed into believing that this order is fair, just, and appropriate, okay? It's a deception. And the last, of course, is culture, which is Hollywood. And, television shows, sitcoms, okay? Things that you absorb every day.
Education, media, culture. 3 overlapping machines running 24/7, pumping out the same message. This is just how things are. The rich deserve their money. The poor deserve their poverty. The wars are for freedom. The sanctions are for peace. The dollar is strong because America is great. You never hear a competing story because there is no competing story. The machines are all owned by the same people. They don't need to coordinate. They just need to hire people who already believe the story and will tell it well. And here's the part that makes it work. Jiang says this creates a legal and moral framework so effective that the elite don't even need to enforce it.
If you break the rules, it's not that the elite will come after you. They don't have to come after you because everyone else will come after you.
That's the final stage of control. You don't need cops when the citizens are the cops. You don't need thought police when everyone polices everyone else's thoughts. If you question the fairness of the system, you're not just wrong, you're dangerous. You're attacking the fantasy everyone else is invested in, and they will turn on you faster than any authority figure would. So the next time you're in a conversation and somebody says, "But that's just the way the world works," remember Jiang. They're not being reasonable. They're being the prison guard, and they don't even know it. So after showing us the cave and how money extracts consciousness, Jiang does something else. He pulls the camera back.
Another way of understanding these people is to think of them as the game masters. Okay? The ones above us who's constructed the game and controlling the rules of the game as we play it.
Game masters. That's what he calls them. Not presidents, not CEOs, not elected officials. The ones above all that. They built the board. They wrote the rulebook. He traces the chain upward. At the very top, something called the Bank for International Settlements in Basel, Switzerland. The central bank of central banks. Above governments, above laws. Think about that for a second. Then below it, the World Bank and the IMF. Organizations that tell countries how to behave if they want to play. Then below them, the national central banks. The Federal Reserve, the Bank of England, the People's Bank of China. This is the operating system. And what does this operating system produce? A game. A global game with one purpose. To use the US dollar as the main mechanism for extracting and storing wealth.
Okay, so resources are considered the cheapest. Even though in reality it should be the most expensive, right? Because resources are limited, they're finite. Above resources, of course, is manufacturing. And above manufacturing is knowledge economy. And then the highest is finance.
Now watch how he connects it. The game masters built a price hierarchy. Not based on real value, based on control. At the bottom, resources. Oil, gas, minerals, food. The stuff you actually need to survive. Priced cheapest. Above that, manufacturing. Turning resources into products. Above that, knowledge economy. Patents, software, media. And at the very top, finance. Moving numbers. Creating debt. Printing money. Then he drops the map.
So resource, of course, would be Russia. Russia, the Middle East, the GCC, okay? Saudi Arabia, these places, okay? So these places provide resources. Manufacturing then would be China, right? Knowledge would be Europe and the Five Eyes, okay? Basically the Anglosphere, Canada, New Zealand, Australia, Britain, and then finance, of course, the United States, okay?
This is the board. This is how the world is divided. Russia sits on resources and sells cheap. China manufactures and ships. Europe and its allies own the ideas. America sits at the top, collecting rent on everything. Jiang isn't saying this is fair or unfair. He's saying this is the structure. The game masters designed it this way. And if you're born in Russia, you play the resource game. Born in China, you play manufacturing. Born in America, you play finance. You don't choose. The game chooses you. But here's where it gets interesting. Two countries inside the system hate it. China and Russia are playing, but they're playing to change the rules. And two countries aren't even allowed on the board.
If the United States doesn't like you, what it can do is not allow you to play this game. And these countries, of course, would be North Korea and Iran, among other countries, okay?
Iran sits on resources. By the game master's design, they're supposed to be at the bottom, selling cheap, taking dollars, staying quiet. But they're not playing. They're outside the game entirely. And they're poking at the structure. This is the setup for every war, every sanctions package, every color revolution. Not ideology, not freedom, not democracy, just game masters protecting their board. The question is, what happens when the players stop following the rules?
First, of course, is intelligence. What is intelligence? Spies, okay? Their job is to infiltrate other nations' elites and co-opt them into the system. That's what their job is, okay? That's what intelligence does. Then you have crime. Crime just engages in the most profitable enterprises, which includes, of course, drugs, human trafficking, and something called money laundering, okay? And this is a way to incentivize the global elite to work together. Okay, so that's the first two. And then there's one more mechanism called science. Now you think that science is about pursuing the truth. No, it's not. Okay? Science is fundamentally about finding evidence to justify and protect the status quo.
Three systems, operating above nations, above any law you can vote for, above any government you can change. Intelligence. Their job is to infiltrate other nations' elites and co-opt them. You don't need to invade a country if you already own the people running it. You don't need to win an election if you control both candidates. Intelligence agencies become integration tools, merging global power across borders. Crime. This is where it gets uncomfortable. Jiang doesn't moralize, he just observes. Crime engages in the most profitable enterprises. But here's the move. He says this creates incentives. When elite money flows through the same channels, when deals cross the same borders, when secrets become shared liabilities, you're not enemies anymore. You're partners. Science. This one cuts deep if you've built your worldview on it. It's not about pursuing truth. It's about finding evidence to justify and protect the status quo. That's why certain questions never get funding. That's why certain answers never appear in journals. That's why materialism is the only allowed framework. It keeps the conversation inside the fence.
Science is fundamentally about finding evidence to justify and protect the status quo.
Think about what that means for every study you've ever trusted. Every expert who told you the system is fair. Every science says headline that shuts down debate. The machine doesn't produce knowledge. It produces permission. Makes you wonder, doesn't it? Now here's where Jiang ties it together.
And these three organizations themselves are bounded by something called the occult. And we'll discuss this later on, okay? The occult. The occult is just basically hidden, secret knowledge, not available to people.
Hermetic philosophy, the Kabbalah, not religion you practice on Sundays. Operating systems for people who see themselves as above the game. This is the architecture. Intelligence co-ops, crime connects, science justifies, and underneath all of it, a shared worldview you're not invited to. Not a conspiracy, a structure. And like any structure, it has load-bearing walls. Jiang is about to show us where they crack. So after building the whole architecture, Jiang asks a question. If this is real, there have to be people moving through it. Operators, people with names.
If it is true that this system is the way it is, there should be individuals in place that operate the system, right? Well, I'll give you some names. I'll give you two names. Jeffrey Epstein and Jared Kushner.
Jeffrey Epstein. You know the public story. But look at who trained him. He started at Dalton, one of the most elite schools in America, where the most powerful families send their children. Then Bear Stearns, finance. Then Douglas Lee, arms trafficking. Iran-Contra, one of the biggest global arms dealers. Then Ehud Barak, former Prime Minister of Israel, intelligence. That's not a random career path. Someone was teaching him how power works across all three systems: education, finance, crime, intelligence. Then look at the Epstein files. 3 million documents released by the Department of Justice. Not leaked, released, on the government website. And what do they show? Bill Gates, the wealthiest man in the world, begging Epstein for money. Elon Musk trying to arrange meetings, Larry Summers and Steven Pinker dining with him at Harvard, Prince Andrew emailing him classified government reports. Not because Epstein was charming, because Epstein represented something. He said it himself. I represent the Rothschild. Your money is fake. I represent real money, real power.
These families help the Rothschilds. Secret Society, Chabad Lubavitch. All right. And you're like, this is all conspiracy. This can't be true. Well, it's all true.
And here's what this network does with all that access. In 2011, America bombs Libya. Gaddafi falls, the country collapses, and Epstein and his friends are already emailing each other, calculating how to profit. Frozen assets, reconstruction contracts, oil reserves. They're not watching the news, they're reading the balance sheet.
They look at geopolitics and they're like, how can we take advantage of geopolitical events to make the most money for ourselves?
The second name is Jared Kushner, son-in-law to our president. Real estate developer turned Middle East peace negotiator. There are photos of him with Putin, with Netanyahu, with the Omani foreign minister. And the question Jiang asks, what are they actually discussing? Not peace. After the war, Ukraine gets rebuilt. Who gets the contracts? After Gaza, someone builds the luxury villas. Who gets the land? Kushner isn't negotiating ceasefires. He's positioning. The FBI's own confidential source on Epstein wrote in their files that Kushner moved Russian investment money through family charities. That the real Russian collusion story wasn't about Trump, it was about Kushner's network. And that on the night Trump was elected, Ivanka and Jared Kushner were at the grave of Rabbi Sneerson, leader of the Shabbat Lubavitch movement, whose followers include Netanyahu and whose network connects across intelligence, finance, and religion. This is the network. These are the operators. They move between education, finance, intelligence, real estate, not as separate roles, but as one integrated machine. The files are public. The connections are documented. Epstein is dead. Kushner is still dealing. And the machine is still running. So here we are. We walk through the cave with Jiang. We saw the shadows on the wall, the game masters above us, the pyramid that sorts nations like products on a shelf. We followed the money, consciousness frozen, stored, extracted. We watched the operators move through education, finance, crime, intelligence. We read the files, we saw the names, traced the connections. It's a lot. It can feel heavy, like the game is rigged and you just now realize you've been playing your whole life without knowing the rules. But here's the thing Jiang planted underneath every word he said. The chains are ribbons. They only hold you if you believe they hold. The game only exists if you play. Where you put your attention is where you put your life. Jiang showed us that. The vase is valuable because someone focused on it. The pyramid exists because billions of people focus on the dollar, the news, the grades, the promotions, the status. The system runs on your attention. It always has. So what happens when you start paying attention to something else? What happens when you spend an afternoon watching clouds instead of scrolling? When you have a conversation where no one checks their phone? When you make something with your hands and don't photograph it? When you sit with someone who's hurting and just stay present? You're not overthrowing anything. You're just withdrawing your energy from the hallucination and investing in what's actually real. The people in front of you, the ground under your feet, the breath in your lungs, the mystery you'll never fully understand. Jiang showed us the architecture. He didn't show us how to escape because escape isn't the point. The point is to see clearly enough that you stop being a volunteer. To recognize that the game is optional. To understand that the cave exists, but so does the light outside it. And no one is stopping you from walking toward it except your own attachment to the shadows. So maybe the move isn't to fight the system. Maybe the move is to build something that the system can't touch. A life so full of real attention, real connection, real presence, that the hallucinations lose their grip. Not because you defeated them, but because you stopped feeding them. The war between the dollar and AI, the civil war among elites, the pyramid, the operators, the files, all of that will keep spinning. It always has. But you don't have to spin with it. You can just be here, now, breathing, alive in a world that is far stranger and more beautiful than any shadow on a wall. Jiang gave you the map. What you do with it is your choice. But know this, the door was never locked. It was never even a door. It was just a shift in attention. And that shift is always available, right now.